I'm not sure quite what we want to talk about today in episode 10, Genesis 31 through 33. I mean, what do we want to talk about? Little g gods or big G God? We want to talk about reconciliation? We want to talk about a wrestling match with God? I don't know what we want to talk about, but we got a lot to talk about today. Here we go. Episode 10, Genesis 31 through 33. All right, guys, like I said in the opening, oh my gosh, there's so much to go through today.
15 minutes is painful on this one.
Yeah, for this one, you better get after it, son.
Painful.
You better get after it, son. All right, here's what we're going to do. I want you to see this. This is the outline that we're working with here today. I'm literally just going to read down through this outline. There's no sense of me going back through everything with everybody, but let me go down through this outline. Genesis 31, two primary topics. Jacob flees from Laban. The daughters, Rachel and Leah, go, man, there ain't nothing for us here, so let's just get out of here. Jacob says the same thing. Now, here's a key point. We were just talking about this. Rachel steals from her father.
Yeah.
She steals her father's little g gods. Mm-hmm. She's no more worshiping the one true and living God than the man in the moon is. They're still worshiping these little g gods. That's going to come into play later as well. When they leave, Laban pursues Jacob. But God comes to Laban in a dream and says, you better keep your hands off of Jacob, okay? So Laban pursues Jacob. God warns Laban, don't you go near that boy. Laban confronts Jacob for leaving and for stealing his gods. Jacob goes, I mean, you can confront me all you want, but I never took your gods. And if you found them, you can kill the person who took them. Well, he doesn't find them. Rachel keeps them hidden, okay? But that's how that all goes down. How long was Jacob with Laban? If you look at Genesis 31, 38 to 42, you're going to see that he was away from home for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. Then they separate from one another, but there's still that strained piece. You were talking about that earlier with Isaac and Abimelech in an earlier episode, okay? But the foreign gods are a key issue here. They really, really are. So that's Genesis 31. Then we get to Genesis 32. Two primary topics in Genesis 32. Jacob prepares to meet with Esau. He hears that older brother's coming, and we're going to find out whether time heals all wounds or not. Will there be reconciliation? So that night, prior to the meeting, Jacob has a wrestling match with God. We'll get back to that in a second. And then finally, as you get over to Genesis 33, Jacob meets Esau. I want you guys to look. How does Jacob position his family? And that's so interesting.
Right.
Because he's still favoring Rachel and Joseph. He puts them as far back as possible. You know, again, we'll ask the question, does time heal all wounds? You know, in the case of Esau, it does. Yeah. But we talked about this in yesterday's episode. When you're reading the scripture, you should always be doing two things. One, find the big picture. What's God trying to say overall in terms of eternity? Yeah. But then how do you get through your day-to-day? Time heals all wounds in this case, but time doesn't heal all wounds.
That's right.
Okay?
Yep.
And then two more things that I want you to see. When Jacob and Esau finally split, Jacob goes his way, Esau goes his way. Remember, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob is the third patriarch.
Yeah.
Israel grows and flows from this line. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Esau is still blessed, but they are not the favored people. They're on the outside looking in, and that people ends up being who is called the Edomites. Mm-hmm. And there's all kind of problems with Edomites over the years. All right, brother, what'd you get? Genesis 31 through 33. What stands out for you? Ha!
All right. Well, yeah. Let me lean in on this one a little bit. So, back to what I said last episode.
Okay. Sustainability.
The word is sustainability. So, like at this point, I think we have enough to gather about the life that Jacob is living. Okay. And so I want you to kind of reflect on some of the things that you've seen him do. We've seen him kind of shortcut. He's stolen blessings here, right? He's stolen the birthright. He's done all these things, right? And then like
manipulates Laban's livestock.
Yes, right. That's a huge part of it. Okay.
Sleeping with 4 women to get babies.
Right. Right.
which wasn't God's plan. I'm not
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to interrupt
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
That's not God's plan.
No, it's not. It's not.
And yet, societally, it was fine.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about society in the halls of heaven.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So like, no, you're fine. Like, but like man, this point, like, it just gets me fired up.
Oh yeah.
I feel like God was trying to reveal to Jacob, this life that you're living, these things that you're doing are not sustainable.
Woo.
Like you're gonna come up against other things that I have for you. You're gonna be called to do more things for my kingdom. You're gonna face more battles. You're gonna lose a son that didn't really get lost. Like there's gonna be lots of things that are gonna happen to you. But the life that you're living is not sustainable, right? And so that's to me is like, what is it in our lives where we're shortcutting, we're shortchanging, we're not living consistently, we're kind of cutting the corners to get ahead, that God is saying, why is it that I'm facing God right now and we're about to have a showdown and have a wrestling match? Because God is saying to you, this isn't sustainable, Jacob. And there's some things that need to be burned out of you. There's some things that need to be rooted out of you if you're going to walk in the fullness of who I've called you to be as the third patriarch. And that word for me, like, man, it should ring into this year. Like, sustainability. Is the life that I'm living sustainable? If not, like, maybe then I need to encounter the Lord, and we need to have this wrestling match where I submit myself to Him, and Your will be done. Like I'm not going to let go, but I know who the victor is, right? And so I just want people to look at his life and see the entirety of, like, I cut there and I cut there, and God's saying, look, we can't go on like this. We've got to bury these gods. We've got to bury this way of living. And if your brother's going to receive you, you can't shortchange the way that you do this any longer.
I think it's important, the point that you're making here, because it really does start with Jacob.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the absolute unsustainability of that household,
yes,
again, we've got 4 women that are going in an opposite direction of God. You've got a man who clearly has been chosen by God and is supposed to be bringing the one true and living God into this family. He's not doing that. I mean, he's clearly not doing that. As Rachel is stealing the household gods, Jacob talks a little bit about the God of his fathers, Abraham and Isaac, but there's no real deep devotion there.
Right.
You know, the household is absolutely disastrous. And you see it when he, oh my gosh, it's so awful how he sets the women and the kids out. He prioritizes them. If my family gets killed off, I'm going to make sure that Rachel and Joseph are in the back because they're the ones I really love in the first place. And there's just this complete back and forth. Plus, he's not trusting in even the providence of God upon his life because he believes that Esau had the power to kill him more, which Esau did, but he believes in the power of Esau to kill him more than in the power of God to rescue him.
Yeah.
Another thing that he does here is he weaponizes God to Laban.
Yeah.
He says, if my God, of the God of my fathers, hadn't you know, and I mean, that's not how God is supposed to be used. That's like the Crusades kind of thing. You know, you either kneel or I'm going to run a sword through you kind of stuff. This is so dysfunctional, so fractured, so fragmented, so chaotic. You're right.
There's no way we can go on like
we
this.
Can't.
Yeah.
And God starts with his chosen man.
Yeah.
And that's where we end up at this wrestling match.
When you think about, like, I think that, you know, the hiding of the gods is symbolic of his life.
Oh.
Like this,
all of our lives,
yeah,
too.
Like this is just, I can do it this way. And by God's grace, he's saying, listen, when you get going and it gets in the heat of the battle, those things that you didn't uncover, those things that you didn't get rid of, they're going to show up and they're going to wreck you. They're going to mess up your life, and you're going to be like, wait, I thought I was doing all this for God. Yeah, you were, but you forgot to take care of the things that have been hiding all along. You were trying to live a sustainable life that was not sustainable.
What are you hiding behind your back? I don't have anything.
Right? You better let him root it out.
You don't have anything. There's nothing there.
Right.
Look, you can sit on that stuff all you want, but at some point it's got to come out.
That's right.
I'll tell you what I was hearing when you were talking there, two sections back. Unequally yoked.
Yeah.
He's unequally yoked in his whole household.
Yeah.
He's unequally yoked as a dad.
Yeah.
He's unequally yoked in himself.
Yeah.
God is saying, listen, it's the same thing God said to Paul. Isn't it hard for you to kick against the goads? Man, I'm trying to save you here. You're battling against the one that's trying to save you. I've used that example so many times. Why? When somebody is drowning and the lifeguard jumps in to save them, they will fight against the one that is trying to bring them rescue. And that's what Jacob's doing here.
Yeah. So watch this. But then you like 20 years. 20 years where? In a shepherd's field. In the field. And his heart is clearly not the heart of David's.
No.
David was in the shepherd's field and says to Saul and all of Israel, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Right? And that, like that life, that's the life, right? Versus the one that says, we better go. You know what I mean? Like,
but there is good news here.
Yes, there is.
Because that wrestling match, oh my. Finally. And isn't this what it comes down to for all of us? It's just that one-on-one with God.
That's it.
And look, let's just be honest. That's what the whole touching of the hip thing is. It's not that God can't take Jacob. That's ridiculous.
That's right.
This is not, boy, this is a tough guy. He almost whipped God. No, this is God saying, listen, man, I want to see if you got staying power.
That's right.
Will you wrestle as long as it takes to wrestle, or are you going to quit?
Yeah.
You going to give up? And, buddy, we better get that in our lives.
Yeah.
God will put it on us like that sometimes. I want to see how tough you are. I want to see if you got the wherewithal to hang in there. I want to see if you're sifted like wheat. Will you hang in there and then return and strengthen your... No, I'm getting fired up.
Oh, no.
And that's what Jacob says. I will not let you go. I will not let you go until you bless me. And God says, shapow, touches his hip and says, let me remind you who God is.
Yeah, that's right.
And he gets it. And then he says, what is your name?
Yeah.
You'll see this. We talk about that. Wait till we get to the Gospels. What is your name? Guys, let me tell you what that's about. It's this. In that society, when you give your name to somebody, you're submitting to their authority.
Yeah.
And so when God says to Jacob, what is your name? And he says, my name is Jacob. That is a submission to the authority of God. And God says, no more.
So, but watch.
Now your name's Israel.
So something to think about on what you're saying in this wrestling match. And I'm done after this, okay?
No, we're not.
Is then in this wrestling match, remember those that have come before. Give me my stuff. Give me my stuff. Give me my stuff. And so, for me, I'm envisioning in this wrestling match that Jacob is grabbing the incarnate God's hand, saying, give me my stuff, give me my stuff. He's holding on to the hand of God, and God says, you know what? I'm not going to give you from my hand. I want you to look at my face. Look at my face and submit to me as your Lord, as your God. And like that like there is a change that happens here in this match of like, it's what you just said. What God can't submit Jacob? So who's wrestling here? Who's actually wrestling here? And what are you wrestling for? Give me my stuff. Give me my stuff. No. You're not going to hold my hand. You're going to look at my face, and I'm going to change your name.
It's not always bad to grab a tiger by a tail, because that's what's happened here.
Yeah.
And he won't let go.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that when people say, I don't care what happens. I will not let go.
Yeah.
I will not let go. And then I love the fact that Jacob goes, what's your name? And God says, you better check yourself.
That's right.
Because I ain't answering you.
Yeah.
You answer me. I don't answer you.
That's right.
You answer me. I think sometimes in our society we forget that God. And you know what, Daniel? And I know you've had tough mentors. I've had tough mentors. I love mentors like that.
Yeah.
Make me cry.
Yeah.
Just mentors that say, I see a greatness in you that you don't see in yourself.
That's right.
And if you'll just hang on and you won't give up, I'm telling you, you will see eternity flowing through your life. That's what this wrestling match is all about. And oh my gosh, that brother walks away changed.
He does. And I just don't want people, and that's the way that people have to see God in this. It's not this, I'm going to get smited, I'm going to get killed here. It's just like, let me show you who I am.
Stop fighting against my love.
That's right. That's
Woo!
right. Yeah.
All right. We better bring this to a close.
Yep.
Episode 10, Genesis 31 to 33. Brought my own self to tears. Maybe it wasn't me bringing myself to tears.
It's a good day. We've laughed, we've cried, we've smiled.
There it is.
There it is.
Hey, guys, God bless you. Go have a fantastic day. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow.